stocks closed mixed on Wall Street, with the Nasdaq ending lower ahead of big earnings from Google parent Alphabet and Microsoft later today. Asian markets trade largely lower. The SGX Nifty indicates a positive start for the Indian market. Crude reverses losses to move higher on hopes that holiday travel will fuel demand in China. Brent now trades above $82 a barrel. Three Nifty heavyweights to report earnings today. Bajaj Auto is expected to deliver a mixed fourth quarter dragged by weak exports, double-digit profit and revenue growth seen from Tata Consumer, while Nestlé's margin is likely to take a hit from higher dairy costs. And India's fourth largest pharma player, Mankind Pharma's 4,300 crore rupee IPO will open for subscription today. Promoters will be selling around 2.5% stake, while PE firms Canehill and Chris Cap will offload 5 and 2.5% stake respectively. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says opposing forces in Sudan have agreed to a 3-day ceasefire even as global evacuation efforts continue. Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar tweets that 500 Indians have reached Port Sudan and the Operation Kaveri is underway to evacuate Indians from the battle-torn country. Hey guys, good morning and welcome to Power Breakfast. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those are the top headlines that we have for you on this Tuesday morning. There's clearly lots going on and lots for us to talk about. But first up, just a look at the global markets right now. We do have quite a mixed handover from Wall Street, and on the back of that you have Asia also, which is pretty mixed right now. What's not doing well, you have the Hong Kong market down 0.7%, so 140 points gone there. The Taiwanese index down around 0.25% as well, and Kospi is seeing a pretty steep cut come through, almost 1% gone on the Korean markets. So that's what's not holding 0.4%. The markets which are managing to trade in the green right now for Asia, you have the Japanese markets, which is up around 0.5%. So that one is looking quite all right. Shanghai also seeing a gain of around largely lower, we'd have to say. The SGX Nifty, by the way, is a little bit different right now. It's moved also a little bit off the highs, like you can see, but still holding up with a gain of around. But let's also talk about the U.S. markets now, because we had Wall Street end yesterday's trading session mixed, like I said. So the Dow was, higher, around 66 points at the close. We had the S&P 500, which was absolutely flat. We see Steve Kovac, who's standing by to get us a wrap of all of that action from the U.S. market. Steve.
Street as investors await a slew of corporate earnings reports. The Dow closed 0.2% higher. Fox shares down after the cable network said primetime host Tucker Carlson is leaving Fox News immediately. $87.5 million. Fox said the company and Carlson had agreed to part ways and thanked him for his service as part of a larger reorganization. Earlier this year, the company said it would slash 7,000 jobs to cut costs by $500 billion. This round of job cuts, expected to end on Thursday, will bring the total layoffs in recent weeks to 4,000. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
All right, Steve, thanks for bringing us up to speed with all of that action from the U.S. markets. But staying with Wall Street, remember troubled bank First Republic also reported Q1 earnings. So the bank's deposits fell over 40%, 40.8% to be precise, to $104.5 billion. This is for the first quarter. But the bank did manage to beat Wall Street estimates on both the top and the bottom line. So shares of the bank actually slid more than 20% in after-hours trade. But remember, this is the bank's first quarter of results post the crisis in early March. So do keep that in mind. And those are important results coming through from First Republic Bank. On that note, here's also some opinion that we're getting you from Allianz's Chief Economic Advisor, Mohammad El Arian, as he speaks on the major earnings which are coming up this week. A lot of the tech names also go, so listen into that.
We're trying to figure out three things from these earnings. One, on tech. How advanced is that cost cutting and how impactful will that be? Two, Coca-Cola was fascinating for me. It shows you that pricing power really matters, especially when you have a strong brand and a big market share. It's amazing that we're talking about First Republic, but that's a really important one to look at. So, it's a very varied picture, but one that reflects the amount of uncertainty that's out there.
All right, that is the word from Mohamed El-Erian, but let's also bring you a comment from JP Morgan's Gabriela Santos on the macros and the impact of higher rates in the U.S.
There's actually a lot of dispersion happening beneath the surface, and that's true when it comes to the economy, earnings, between sectors and between asset classes and regions. When we look at the economy, on Thursday we'll get first quarter GDP. We do expect it to look really, really strong, over 2.5%. We'll see some weakness in the first areas that were impacted by higher rates, manufacturing, housing. We'll see some resilience within services and consumption for now, but we do think the rolling impact of higher rates should be felt in the quarters ahead, and specifically through a weakening in the jobs market, which ultimately impacts consumption and services. So really kind of a high watermark for the economy at the moment.
Okay, so that is some important opinion that we are tracking on the U.S. markets. But let's get you the final update on our global market wrap this morning. We had European markets, which began the week on the back foot and ended Monday's trading session lower. So the rates are up on your screen. The CAC was down around 3 points. The German DAX lost around 18 points at the close. And the FTSE also came in with a little bit of a negative close, but quite flat over there, just around 2 points lower. For Europe, remember, we had Swiss lender Credit Suisse, which reported Q1 earnings. So the bank suffered a net asset outflow of $68.6 billion US. Remember, UBS will also be reporting its first quarter earnings later today. So that will be important to track as far as the European markets go. And, we'll, of course, keep bringing you updates on that front as well. But that's everything that we're looking at for now for the global markets. Let's talk about all of the cues that you should track ahead of this trading session. Rima, Mangalam and Surbi all join in now to take us through the trade setup. Guys, a very good morning to all of you. Rima, let me come to you first. We did see the markets pick up a little bit towards the end of the session yesterday. And, we closed pretty quite all right after the dull session we saw. But how's it looking today?
Well, despite that second half rally, which helped the Nifty close above that 17,700 mark, we're still very much in that broad 300-point range. So on the way up, the marker to cross for us to break out of this recent trading range is 17,863. Yesterday, you had the FIs selling 412 crore in the cash market, and now the FIs have sold for the sixth consecutive session. The DIIs bought 1,177 crore, buying for the third or fourth straight session. But if you see a net institutional, that's the DII buy minus the FII sell, we are still tracking a pretty healthy number of 700 to 800 crore rupees of a net inflow. And that's something that helped us close higher. Wall Street also very range bound, like the Indian market, something that you've been talking about as well. They closed mixed with no big moves. In fact, the US markets have traded in a narrow range for the last 7 consecutive sessions with moves of less than 1%. The dollar index has retraced a bit. Last week, we were closer to 102. Now we are down to 101.25, and crude prices have seen a pickup on a day-on-day basis. Big numbers expected today. So globally, Alphabet and Microsoft will be reporting numbers. So tech stocks will be on your radar globally. And back home in India, Bajaj Auto, Tata Consumers, Nestle, Dalmia Bharat, HDFC, AMC, AU Small Finance, and there is a long tail of other mid-caps and small caps reporting numbers. Back to you.
All right, so clearly lots for us to track today. Rima, thanks for bringing us all of those cues. But let's talk about the individual stocks as well that could be in focus in the trading session today. So we have Surbi here with that entire list and lots of earnings coming through. Hi, Surbi.
Hi, thanks for that. So first on my radar is Persistent Systems. On a sequential basis, the dollar revenue was up nearly 4%. The EBIT margins came in constant at around 15%, and the PAT was higher by 6% at close to 250 odd crores. Mahindra Logistics, the revenue was up 17% on a year-on-year basis, but it reported a profit of 20 lakhs versus 6.28 crores same time last year. Century Textiles, the revenue was around flattish at 1200 odd crores. The EBITDA was down 3.4% and the margins were constant at around 10%. Other than that, Ipca Labs and Unicam will also be in focus, as Ipca is going to acquire 33.38% stake in Unicam Labs at 440 rupees per share, aggregating to 1,034 odd crores. The board also approves an open offer for up to 26% in Unichem Labs. Next is IndusInd Bank. The board seeks shareholders' approval to reappoint Sumant Katpalia as MD and CEO. And lastly, BEML hands over its first rake of rail grinding machine to Lorem USA. Some other nifty companies that will also be in focus as they'll be reporting the Q4 numbers is Bajaj Auto, Tata Consumer and Nestle.
All right, Surbhi, thanks a lot for bringing us that entire list of stocks. Let's also talk about the cues from the futures and option space. Mangalam, like we were just mentioning, we did see a bit of a pickup towards the end of the trading session, but still very much in that range.
Yes, we are in that range, the 17,500 to 17,800 sort of range. But yesterday's uptick at least took it out of the funk that we had seen in the last three previous sessions. And that was on account of a couple of factors. The first one, of course, was the net inflow coming into the cash market, a net inflow of close to around 765 crores. The FII is selling, reducing from 2,000 crores in the previous trading session to around just 400 crores. And at the same time, the purchase in index futures by the FII has continued. So 1,000 crore worth purchase is what the FII has made in index futures. Importantly, if you notice, it was the Nifty Bank which outperformed yesterday. But in Nifty Bank futures, the FII has bought just 166 crores, whereas the Nifty, they bought 950 crores. So is there more room for the Nifty Bank to go ahead and do better? Is the question we'll get an answer to today. In the index futures, FII has added almost 10,200 longs, covered 2,000 shorts, and as a result of which their longs have moved higher to 44%. Remember, at the start of the series, the longs were 9%. It kept inching higher. The start of last week, it was close to 36%, and now it's 44%. For perspective, 44% long exposure by the FIs is the highest that we've seen all the way since Jan series. And not just that, this is the expiry week. The FIs are writing a lot of puts as well, and that is the big positive. Almost 2.16 lakh puts written, and this compares with 21,000 calls. That's telling you there is strong support at the lower levels. Yesterday, they wrote 10 puts per call. What are the puts that they wrote? Of course, it was understandable that they'd write the 17,700 put as well as the 17,600 put. These are out-of-money puts. But even the 17,800 mark, a mark that the Nifty hasn't crossed, saw put writing out there for a premium of 77.80 rupees, telling you that early 17,700 would be an important support to watch out for too. Call writers of 17,700 had to run for cover, and now the whisper number 18,000 is something which is on the cards. Whether the Nifty crosses that or not is dependent on the way the Nifty goes past that or tackles with that 100-day moving average. We've seen the Nifty cross the 200-day moving average. The 100-day moving average is at 17,838. The answers to that will be in how the Nifty Bank performs today, and the second half, how the Nifty Financial performs today, because we have the Nifty Fin expiry weekly.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast, and let's now talk about Mankind Pharma's 4,300 crore rupee IPO, which will open for subscription today. Ekta is joining us with all of the details as well as, about the issue. So Ekta, take us through what the company really is about, and this is a big issue now.
Yes, thanks very much for that, Pavitra. It's something that I think the street will watch out for quite keenly. It is a big IPO. It's a big sized IPO from a company which has a strong presence of mind amongst consumers. So it is a pure OFS. So they are not raising money for the company. The issue size is around 4,110 crores to 4,326 crores. Price band 1,026 to 1,080. Promoters are selling around 2.5%. Two PEs are selling around 3 crore shares. Now, Mankind has already raised 1,298 crores from anchor investors. They've raised it at the higher end of the price band at 1,080. They've allotted 1.2 crore shares to 77 funds. Now, the key points about the business is that 98% of their sales come in from India. Pharma is 90% of their total sales, surprisingly, and consumer is around 8 to 10% of their sales. 47% of their sales come in from tier 2 and rural cities, and the key USP of Mankind is affordability. They price themselves 15 to 20% cheaper than what is available in the market. They've shown strong growth of 16% CAGR from FY20 to FY22 versus the Indian pharma growth of 11%. Chronic care, which they're growing at, is 33% of their sales and has grown 18% CAGR versus industry growth of 11%. They have market-leading consumer brands, which a lot of us recognize: Manforce, Unwanted 72, Prega News. So all of them are leaders within that particular segment. Past 2 years CAGR, 15% revenue, 18% EBITDA, 17% profit and no debt. But the challenges are competition because they want to expand into tier 1 cities as well as metro towns plus grow chronic care. So there are huge players such as the Sun Pharmas and the Cipla that they have to contend with. Margins have taken a hit in 9 months FY23. The payback on the Panacea Biotech acquisition, which they made a couple of years ago, is something that the street is questioning, and the company has limited outsider presence in the top management. Valuations 29 to 30 times on a trailing basis. It's largely in line with the likes of Sun and Cipla on a trailing basis.
All right, Ekta, sounds like an extremely interesting IPO. So let's see how this one moves. But thanks for bringing us all of the details there. And with that, let's shift focus now and talk about some big earnings now that are due today. Remember, I said 3 big Nifty earnings are due to declare their results today. And Bajaj Auto is one of them. So Sonia is joining us to tell us what we can expect this time around. Hi, Sonia.
Hi, morning. Thanks a lot for that. So Bajaj Auto is going into its numbers very strong. The stock is up almost 20% in 2023 and the stock is at a fresh 52-week high. Now, if you look at the earnings this time, a revenue growth of 4.5% is what we're expecting from Bajaj Auto. The EBITDA will be up almost about 15-odd%. Now, the important part is that the revenue growth will be in low single digits because of the weakness that we're seeing in the export market for Bajaj Auto. So this time around as well, while the domestic volumes are up about 15-odd%, the export volumes are under a lot of pressure and that will flow through in this quarter's numbers. Export markets have been impacted because of the availability and the devaluation of the forex currency or foreign currency in many markets like Nigeria, and that has hit the realizations this time around. Hence, the margins will also contract quarter on quarter because exports are a high margin business, and since exports are under pressure, margins will contract compared to the 19% margins that they clocked in last time around. This quarter, we're expecting the margins to come in at 18.8%. So all in all, a weak set of numbers is what we're expecting. A mixed bag rather, low single-digit revenue growth. Margins will be under pressure quarter on quarter, but important to wait for management commentary on whether there is a recovery in the export market. Back to you.
Okay, Sonia, thanks for bringing us all of those expectations. So we have Bajaj Auto, which will declare results today. Staying with the auto pack, we also have reports that say MG Motor India is in advanced talks with JSW Group. This is for a stake sale. And according to reports, MG Motor is looking to raise around 3,000 crore rupees by offloading around 15 to 20% stake. So MG Motor refused to comment right now, saying that the report is speculative. A JSW spokesperson has also declined to comment. However, remember, if the deal does go through, it would mark JSW's entry into the automotive segment. In fact, in a conversation with Shireen at the World Economic Forum in Davos, JSW Chairman Sajjan Jindal had said that the company is actively considering manufacturing a high-quality electric car. Listen in.
I believe that EV is the wave of the future for mobility, and you know, I gave up at that time thinking that all the auto majors would go in a big way in the EV, but you know, I realized that after 4 years of giving up the EV segment or giving up the idea of going into the EV, not much has happened in India. So therefore, I'm kind of contemplating to re-enter that phase.
Two-wheelers or cars?
No, it'll be a car, very high-quality car, because India we don't have a high-quality EV. Right now.
Back on the table as an active consideration.
As of now, yes.
By when do you hope to finalize? Yes or no?
No, yes and no, I think next 3 months.
Okay, so if it goes through and you sign off on it, what is it going to mean in terms of ballpark investments? You said that you don't need necessarily a partner, but would it make sense to have a partner on board? Is that something that you may want to reconsider?
Not really. We have thought about it, and now the technology is readily available, so there is really no need to bring in any partner. And what I want to do is to bring in a product where we Indians can feel proud of, and we would like to export that product out of India to European market and to the most developed market, auto market in the world.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. We've been going through all of the equity market action. So let's talk about what's going on with commodities as well. We have Manisha joining us with a quick check. Manisha, take us through what's happened overnight.
Pavitra, thank you so much for that. I'll start with the crude oil prices, where we are looking at supports being held. The major thing in the last 24 hours clearly has been the US dollar index, which has seen a bit of a pullback, and we are now trading below 101, and that seems to be supporting many of these commodity markets. The overnight space hasn't been so great because when you look at the metals as a sector, we've seen China slow down recovery weighing on There are recession fears as well, prompted by high interest rates. So you have copper prices now trading at a 2-week lows. Zinc is trading at a 2-year lows. Other metals like tin are now off 2-month highs. We've seen nickel also come off its highs. Iron ore and steel prices have continued to decline, trading at a 4- and 5-month lows right now. And all eyes on the first quarter GDP numbers from US. That data gets released today, and further direction for markets would come in from that.
All right, Manisha, thanks a lot for bringing us all of those details from the world of commodities. But with that, here's another important update that we're tracking, and this is on the Sudan situation. After close to 10 days of violence, the warring parties in Sudan have now agreed to a 72-hour ceasefire. This is according to the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. However, what is really concerning is the fact that this is the third ceasefire to be announced since the start of the conflict, and none of them so far have been upheld. According to Blinken, the agreement was reached after 48 hours of negotiations. Remember, like we've been telling you, at least 400 people have already lost their lives to the violence so far in Sudan. Meanwhile, India has also launched Operation Kaveri in order to bring back Indian nationals stranded in Sudan. So we can only hope that the situation does become better and that the rescue operations proceed properly. So that is the latest on what we're tracking from Sudan. With that, we're going to wind down on this edition of Power Breakfast with the news that Asia is pretty mixed, like we've been telling you. The Hong Kong markets have slipped even further, by the way. It's a 1.2% cut that we're seeing now on the Hang Seng. So that there you have it. There's quite a slip which has come through. Kospi over 1% in the red as well. The SGX has come off a bit, but still around 20 points in the green. So we'll wind down on that note. But thanks a lot for tuning in. We have Bazaar up in 2.